so.
Yeah. You ready to jump in? All right, man. I'll just do the intro and we'll get going.
Yeah, nice, mate.
All right, and welcome to the Pagey Train. Today, having the not in the studio, but over the internet, Danny Fitzgerald, men's mental health advocate and founder of Wheeling to the Mountains. Welcome to the show, Danny.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ross.
Man, it's been a while coming. I've been bugging you for a podcast for some time because you've been doing this program for a while. What is Wheeling to the Mountains? What's that all about?
Wheeling to the Mountains was a bike ride that we started. Wheeling to the Mountains was from Esperance in Western Australia to Omeo, Victoria.
Okay.
About 3,200 Ks.
What?
Yeah, and we did. We wheeled to the mountains.
3,200 K, man. Geez, so how many Ks are you covering a day by doing that?
We averaged about 180.
180. Okay, 180 Ks a day. Okay, so conditions depending, I imagine.
Yeah, conditions pending. Yeah, that's right.
And you did this. Did you do this all on your own? Or did you do it with the team? Like, how did that all come about?
No, I had a team. I had one of my best mates from Victoria, Jamie Simons. He'd come over with the caravan.
Yeah.
And followed me back at about 32 kilometres an hour.
Oh, mate, that's friendship right there.
That is friendship right there. It was incredible. He went to another level on this trip. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Traveling at 32 Ks an hour with a caravan. Yeah. Across the continent, not just
Yeah, and on and off the road as cars were obviously coming behind us. So he had a pretty tough job. I think I had the easy job riding.
Yeah, well, that's you're the talent up the front raising the money, and everyone's photographing you, and you're like telling the story, and he's dealing with the perhaps drivers that don't understand the situation.
Plenty of them. The trucks were amazing, but the cars, oh geez, I tell you.
Oh really? Yeah. You think, I don't know, I suppose as an ignorant Sydney sider like me, I think that the truckies would be annoyed by people getting in the way of work, but it wasn't the truckies at all. It was more of the normal commuters.
Yeah, it was. Like we got right off the road. Obviously there was a pretty good shoulder most of the way, so we got right off. And we had radio communication, so we could actually talk to the truckies.
Yeah.
And they were amazing. There was one truck that got that far over, he nearly ran off the road on the other side. So, they looked after us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's I suppose it's a bit dangerous, right? Riding on the roads like that. Like, did you have scary moments?
Oh, yeah, we did. I got, there was one point there, a truck, there was just nowhere for us to go. There was cars coming the other way and busy, and I reckon he got within a foot of me. That was pretty hairy. I was like, whoa.
That'll wake you up.
There was a wet day from coming into Port Augusta. That was we had to stop a few times. That was really dangerous. Yeah.
Oh, so you rode rain, hail, or shine?
We rode rain, hail, or shine. Yeah, we did. There was only 2 wet mornings that we got pretty lucky with the weather.
Oh, I think especially in this day and age, getting lucky with the weather is super lucky.
We were so lucky.
Yeah. Oh, look, in recent months, it's only rained twice in Sydney. The first time it rained for 40 days, and then it rained for 30 days. So it's just been a constant onslaught of wet weather, especially here on the East Coast. Yeah, I know, that's really good, man. Wheeling to the Mountains. So you did this in conjunction with Black Dog to raise money?
Yeah, that's right. We raised money for Black Dog Institute.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I'm a big fan of their work. It was for suicide awareness was our main aim. We lost a mate to suicide, and that was like, what can we do? Woke me up to a few of my own issues, and we thought, well, we'll raise money by riding across the country. And, we raised 42,000 for Black Dog, so that was amazing.
42 grand, man. That's an amazing feat. Congratulations, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. We're very proud of what we've done.
Oh man, 42,000 for an organisation like that is very helpful. I'm sure they'd be stoked with it. I've known a few guys that have been a part of Black Dog, being a ex-serviceman myself as well.
Yeah.
We are unfortunately a part of that cohort of society that has a high suicide rate. I've lost a few friends to suicide, and it's never easy. And it's based upon a lot of complex issues. For me, I think it's more about identity. Like when I left the military, it's harder to find an identity because you have a very strong identity in the military, and when you're
Yeah.
separated out of that, I think you can have a bit of a crisis, and that can start to trigger other things. Not to mention any traumas that you've suffered along the way. Doing this bike ride, how's your fitness been going? Because I imagine if I tried to ride 3,000 k's tomorrow, I'm sure I'd have a few troubles.
Yeah, you probably would. It took a lot of preparation. Yeah, that's right. You don't jump into these things lightheartedly. So no, it was 3 years coming with the border closures and all the rest with COVID, and it was probably a blessing for me. I just kept training. Yeah, so yeah, I think I climbed 40,000 meters,
Okay.
and rode 15,000 k's in the training for it.
15,000 k's in training. Wow.
Yeah, so I was well and truly ready for it.
Oh, did you do any little rides beforehand instead of doing like a ride, across 3 states? Did you do perhaps a ride to the border first, or?
No, I just did. I rode to Perth. I rode to Perth quite a bit, up and back to Perth. I made that was about 200 kind of k's, and that was what I kind of worked off for that. And just it was a lot of hill work because we had to climb up Mount Hotham at the end. That's 1,840 meters.
Okay.
So I wanted to be ready for that, and it was. I did altitude breathwork training for that as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had no issues at all at the end. So that was really rewarding because the breathwork was very hard. It's really hard to do that. So
well, what's the process of that? How do you talk me through the process of doing high altitude training? What's that all about? How do you do that?
Well, the exercises I was given was, so you hold your breath and you walk until you need to take a breath, and then you continue to hold it, and then you run until you absolutely can't run anymore. And I did these exercises 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, starving yourself of oxygen is not easy.
Yeah.
It was very very, very hard to do, but yeah, I knew, obviously hoping that it was going to help me up that big mountain, and it did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I've done some altitude training stuff myself. I think they call it hypoxic training. So you starve your body of oxygen and still work your body.
That's right.
And I found it was incremental. So I've been doing it in the pool. So I've been doing like 12 meters underwater with flippers on, gun ho with one breath, and then get out to 25 meters, and then get out to 33 meters. And my aim is to do the full 50 meters. Haven't quite gotten there yet though. It's very hard.
It's hard. It is hard, and that's it. Just baby steps working towards it. That's right.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do.
Oh man, people! For listeners out there that haven't been in high altitude before, it is different. It really is different. I remember my first experience in high altitude, and you just when you first start walking around, especially above 1,300 meters, 1,800 meters. Once you start getting into that space, it feels like when you're walking, you feel like you're running. Yeah, so I can't even imagine riding a bike in high altitude. That would kill me.
Yeah, well, and that's, my body was well prepped, but I think once it gets above even 2,000, I've heard people talking about when they're hiking, it's just like you're just gasping for air all the time. It's really hard to explain, isn't it? You kind of have to experience it.
Yeah, the fatigue is way faster. You will get tired very quickly in high
Mm,
altitude. I think that's
yeah,
the thing that's really hit me is like I was exhausted just by walking 50 meters. I think my first experiences, I think it was about 3,000 meters first time I experienced it. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, man, because you do all the training leading up to it, and the training helps. But when you're in the environment, when you're in that environment, there's no escaping the environment. Like in training, you can hop out of the situation.
that's right.
But
Yeah,
when you're up there, you can't just like, oh, I'm going to go down the mountain and get my breath back and then go back up the mountain. I don't think it works like that.
that's right. But yeah, I was lucky. I had that much adrenaline pumping through my body that I think I was just gonna go up there anyway.
Oh,
So
dude, I've got a
yeah,
great. Let me just share a picture with our viewing audience. Let me just share a picture. I think it's this one here. Let's share that. So you can probably see that on your screen there. Danny's lookout at 1,700 meters, and you've got your bike and your hands in the air.
yeah, yeah. I felt like a king.
Oh, dude, it's an amazing shot. But look at those thighs, man. Holy hell, pumping
Yeah, yeah. That pump,
pumping those
guys.
batteries.
Now that there's a funny story to that photo actually.
Yeah.
I was riding up the hill like we are just talking about. I was meant to stop there on the way up, but but I didn't. I
Yeah.
was I just there was all these people waiting for me there, and I was just in the zone, and I just kept going. I didn't want to stop,
Yeah.
so yeah, we celebrated at the top of the mountain because I wanted to get up in one hit.
Yeah.
I got back in my I said to my mate, I said, mate, we're going to go back to Danny's lookout because I have to get a photo. So, and of course, didn't think to tell any of the people waiting for me. Like there was CFA cars that were escorting me up and down the hill, and I was just in my own little world. We just went back to Danny's lookout. We got that photo,
Yeah.
and meanwhile, everyone was worried about where we were.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that we went back and got that pic because it's a magic one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's one for the wall. Like I'd be putting that on the wall. It's a great photo because I think it really signifies the physical strength that it takes to do this, the mental strength that it takes to do this, the support of everyone that you have around you. Because this is not a one man deal. You've got all this team around you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I think it's a great photo for that, and it looks out to the world. And
it does.
yeah, and it looks out to possibilities.
Mm,
And I think what you've done really does talk about what people can do when they put their mind to it. And
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
raising and I think it's a great way to raise awareness, especially for men's mental health. And I'm glad that there's dudes like you out there, man, that are raising these issues. Because there's that stigma for men where you're going to be okay, right? Because you're a man.
yeah,
You should be fine. You don't have any problems. You shouldn't show emotion. You shouldn't show vulnerability. You should just get on with it.
yeah,
But yeah, I think what you've done is really showing that there's through vulnerability there is strength, man, and
yeah,
through strength there is
yeah.
vulnerability. They do coincide. But yeah, so wheeling to the mountains. What's the sort of origin story for you to why build that up? You were talking about a sad story of your friend passing away and committing suicide. Is that something that really pushed and got this organization up and running?
Yeah, it was Ross. So what was it? 4 years ago, I got a call from one of my best mates, Jamie. That now Whelan was a guy from Omeo. He grew up in Omeo and was best mates with Jamie. And yeah, he rang me up and told me about what had happened. And I can still remember where I was standing,
Mm.
as you probably can with losing mates to suicide as well. You probably get that call and you remember exactly
Yeah,
where you were.
absolutely. Yeah,
Because Jamie was kind of empty on the phone for a bit. I thought something had happened to his kids because he wouldn't talk, and then he said he's gone, and I was like, who's gone? And he said Will, and then so Jamie and his partner Hannah actually flew me over to the funeral to be with him because we're pretty tight. And like I said, I had some issues that like I've been suffering a long time of, and hadn't really. I'd kind of got help, but I wasn't right. And being at Whelan's funeral, watching hundreds of people just, just in total shock of a loss, and how much it affected hundreds of people was, and yeah, I was kind of think that could be me in that, you know what I mean? That's how bad that I did get. So it was Whelan that woke me up. I kind of spoke to Hannah and Jamie about it when I got back to Perth, and I said I got to get better. And I asked Jamie if he'd be my support crew for Whelan to the Mountains, and a lot of water under the bridge from back then to here. But yeah, Whelan to the Mountains was a way of it was a trip for myself to prove, that anything's possible. And after I'd got better, and we did it in honour of Whelan because he kind of saved my life. So yeah, it was a really the Omeo community. It touched a lot of people back there, and they were amazing from this ride. And then it's just that's kind of the Whelan to the Mountains, and it's just grown into this. Like when we planted the seed for it, we just thought it was just going to be I put $4,000 as a goal to raise. I just thought, I'd be happy with that.
Well, what it's still an achievement. 4,000 is still a great thing to do, man. Like I said, for Black Dog, like $4,000 could do a lot. It does go a long way.
It does, and I thought, that's just over $1 a K. That's not bad. And then to what this has grown into is just it's blown me away. Still, it's really it's raised a lot of awareness, which is what we're about.
Yeah. So, it's certainly because I was following your guys' trip from WA to Victoria, and it was there's so many mixed emotions in it, because you're watching your friend going along this ride and you're going, man, it's really great that he's doing this stuff for awareness, and it's a hard topic too, like talking about suicide, talking about depression, especially when you're personally involved in it, and and when you're a part of it on the exterior, on the interior of it. There's so many facets to depression and anxiety, and especially talking about suicide. There's even a stigma not to talk about suicide. People don't want to talk about it.
Lots of
and to bring people together in that way is great, but also seeing the fun that you had along the way. So you're dealing with this really difficult topic, but still having fun along the way, and all your socials, man, were really mad. And watching everyone follow you guys was also fun, because you could see the support out there, and you could see the desire of people wanting to talk about this and still be able to hold their head up high and still have a bit of tongue in cheek and still give pats on the back and still watch someone do something really difficult. It was really good to see, man. It really was.
Thanks, Ross. Thanks for following us too. When you're doing it and we're doing all those videos, we just had no idea again how many people were kind of watching along, especially the first couple of days. That was something we did as a bit of a laugh and a bit of a breakdown of the day.
Yeah.
And to share it, because there was highs and lows as well. It was, we wanted to share the good times, the bad times. There wasn't many bad times. There was a couple. But and I'm all about having a laugh, and so was Jamie and the rest of the crew. We we laughed a lot. So it was, it's that breaking the mind of on the bike, and just because your mind wanders a lot, and you're like, oh, what could I do here? And that's what we did. We had a really, really fun trip.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about the mind wandering, because it does. You go into a meditative state when you're doing activity like that, because it's a long haul.
It is a long haul.
And your brain is activated on something that's repetitive. So you're just pedaling, right? Pedaling and watching the road.
Yeah.
And once you start getting into that automatic mode where that becomes muscle memory, that's when your mind is free to wander. And it's been in these moments, like personally, but when I've had some idle time, or when I was doing something like swimming, for instance, or running, where your mind is freed up by a repetition, a repetitive action. Sometimes you can wander to dark places, man. You can really go into deep wells, and then sometimes it's important to go to those places. I found with my experience with like my comrades, my friends, and my family, the best way to deal with someone going down a well is to go down there with them. And the problem with that is the risk of going down a well with someone is that you might get depressed in the process. There's a lot of mental risk involved in that, but I think the real, and that's because you've got to be vulnerable, right? Talking about these things makes you vulnerable.
It does, yeah.
And the irony of that is, by talking about it, that's how you get stronger. It's a paradox. You've got to show vulnerability in order to be strong, and you've got to show strength in order to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think, with the mind wandering, the mind is a powerful thing.
Oh, it certainly is.
You know, the mind can put rockets on the moon, man. It can create human flight. It can also come up with a way to destroy the entirety of humanity. Right? That's how powerful the mind can be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I think after a while of that repetition and those thoughts for me, I eventually started going to positive places. Because you can end up in a death cycle of thinking about negative shit all the time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's what I used to probably be like. Yeah.
Yeah. I call it spiraling in. You're just spiraling into destruction. You're just spiraling in. But I think my way out of that is to spiral out. What are the possibilities? Let's not talk about what I've confirmed, which is painful. What are the possibilities here? What can I do? What can I do that's different? You know, hence for me, it's doing the podcast. It's doing the festival. It's getting creating platforms and showing people that anyone can do this.
That's right.
And there's power in the group of us, and I'm glad to see that, and myself included, and and you and another mate of mine, Benny. These guys are definitely, bringing awareness and showing that we are a vulnerable group, man. There's a lot of stigma out there about dudes and what dudes are supposed to do. But I'm really fascinated by the idea of expressing these emotions and just trying to show others that you're not alone. You're not on your own, man.
Yeah, and that's how I used to think, like, and maybe you did too. And that's right. It's about, you're not alone. It's like you got to. That's exactly right. And that's what we wanted to raise the awareness. Was you're not by yourself. There's and going back to Ben, I watched that episode, and that was one of my favorite episodes with you and Ben. I love listening to you two talk. You both were in the army together, and like Ben said on that episode about the PTSD, he was kind of the same. He didn't realize probably how much it was affecting him, and then he got on top of it. But your mind, we're not trained to deal with those kind of situations that especially army guys see and go through. So when we're not trained, and it doesn't matter what level of PTSD you have, it's not trained to deal with that. So
I have the same with this. The military is good at making the weapon, but they're not good at making the civilian.
That's right. So, that was a really good episode with you and Ben. I loved it.
Man, he was like you, man. Just wanted to do he was $4,000 as well. He wanted to raise $4,000. He didn't. He had some confidence in what he was doing, but at the end of it, I think he turned over like $35,000 for Black Dog.
Oh, did he? Yeah, awesome.
Just up there in the stratosphere, like yourself, man. Just like doing something very humble. Because you go out to do, you build your logo, you build your website, or you build your socials, and you try to start bringing awareness to it, and then you start your training. You start plotting the map and go, all right, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that, and I might raise $4,000, and you leave it at that until you go and do it, and then you realize there's a whole world out there, and you realize that the world is a very big place.
Yeah, that's right, and it affects people, and that's what. And Ben, he stayed himself. We stayed ourselves as well.
Mm,
That's important because people see straight through bullshit. They really do. So,
mm,
and that's yeah. Ben would have had and I'm sure he met some great people on his trip, and because we met some great, genuine people on ours. It's
mm.
yeah, they do. They come and have chats to you, and they find out what you're doing, and then they open up to you and kind of tell you about their stuff that's going on. It's real powerful stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, when people are invoked or invited to share their experiences, I think that's pretty powerful too, because then people are eager to participate in the healing, right?
Yeah,
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 rather than being reluctant, they're actually hungry to do that. But yeah, man, I'm still blown away though. 3,000 kilometers. Like if you did that through Europe, man, you would have passed through like 6, 7 different countries.
that's right.
Crazy.
It honestly hasn't probably hit me either, Ross. It's when you look back at what we did, that the 3 weeks went so fast. Like it flew by, and yeah, to look back at you think 3,200 k's, and you think that's a long way to travel in a car, let alone a bike. But like you say, we broke it down into small sections, and that's how I tackled it with the
Yeah.
one drink bottle at a time is what we said, which was about an hour. I'll be swapping a drink bottle, and that's what we did every
Yeah,
day.
it's about right. A liter an hour, right? That's what they
That,
say. It's about a
yeah,
liter an hour, yeah?
a liter an hour is that's what you should be having.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it's funny when you say that. I've been through that experience before where I've done some endurance work and people I'll go to them. We need a liter of water an hour. And they'd be like, "You're not going to drink a liter of water an hour." I'm like, "Dude, you're going to drink a liter of water an hour. I guarantee it." In fact, there's going to be an hour in there where a liter's not going to cut it.
yeah, that's right. That
It'll be
happened.
too short. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazing because I think the rate. I think we lose a liter every half hour when doing high energy work.
yeah,
It takes so you lose a liter every half an hour, but it takes an hour to get the liter back.
mm,
That's why you drink
yeah,
that's why you drink a liter every hour.
yeah. And
Yeah,
that's so I would weigh myself in the mornings,
yeah,
and then I'd weigh myself when I was finished, and whatever the difference was. So I think that the highest day, my hardest day, I was 2 kilos lighter. So two liters of fluid I had to replace, but you have to have 4 liters to replace it.
yeah.
So I had 4 liters that I had to have, that night before even starting to build for the next day. So yeah, it's all pretty interesting.
Mm.
How yeah.
What about? I know this is probably an icky question, but the sweat, man, right? Okay, so when I've done stuff that I sweat, you get a lot of salt that comes out, man. I'd get a lot of salt patches,
Yeah.
all over me, man. Did you get to change your outfit enough, or did you get stuck in the same outfit all the time?
Well, when you're on a bike, because you're creating your own breeze, the sweat kind of just dries it. Yeah, but that's right. So electrolytes I had to have. So every second drink bottle was electrolytes to replace that as well. But yeah, no, I changed my suits. Yeah, a couple of times a day, especially obviously on the wet days. It's not fun.
Yeah, wow. I think it's an obvious, like, because you see the guys in the same lycra, right? And you go, "Oh, that's just your one lycra suit, right?" Then you go, "No, that can't be, because you'd have to wear a few of them to get that
Yeah,
done."
yeah, I had four sets of the pants, I think, and then I had heaps of shirts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, far out, man. What was the? Did you have sort of like a bit of a shindig when you got to the other end? Did you have a bit of a celebration?
Oh, it was amazing, Ross. Yeah, Omeo is only a population of about 300 people. We came into Omeo about a k out of town. There was about 15 kids lined up on bikes,
Yeah.
ready for us. Jamie was on a bike at that stage. He jumped on for the last 10 k's,
Mhm.
and yeah, then we cruised in. The kids were amazing. We just cruised into Omeo, not really knowing what what to expect, and
Yeah.
then they had the fire trucks there with the sirens, and then the street was just lined with people. So yeah, it was hundreds of people, and it was amazing. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
great. No, I think that's a beauty about country towns in Australia, I reckon.
Oh, that's right. It's the country communities are something else. They really rally together for whatever that whatever the situation is. Last time I was there was bushfires, and I seen them all rally together for the bushfires too. It's quite incredible. Yeah,
Yeah, I went. I recently did a film out in Cobar. Like you talking about riding 3,000 kilometers. This is Cobar from here is 700 kilometers.
yeah,
It took me 9 hours to drive it. Absolutely exhausted by the end of it.
yeah,
Nothing like I couldn't imagine riding that. That'd be incredible. But going to that town, there was a certain part of me where when I was in the town, like living in Sydney, you're a part of the rat race, right?
oh, yeah,
and there's two sides to that. There's the exciting part about being in the rat race because there's the adrenaline rush of, wow, I'm actually ahead of the queue and I'm getting further in the traffic, or I managed to, I got this parking space. I'm going to get that for free all day. There's a sense of achievement when you win the rat race.
yeah, yeah,
But there's obviously a sense of stress when you're in the rat race. You're like, oh man, there's just people everywhere. Everyone's so damn rude. Everyone's cutting each other off. Everyone's has a massive sense of urgency. Everyone's in a rush.
yeah, yeah,
Then you contrast that to go into a country town. There's no rush. There's no cutting in the line. There's no cutting people off at the lights. They don't do anything like that. And there was
yeah,
a sense of when I was there was a sense of like even going to the RSL for a schnitty, right? Like it's
yeah,
like traveling back in time. Like they make the snitty like they used to make it 15 years ago at the local pub. They
yeah,
don't make it's all real processed in the city now, right? Everything's all real processed. You go out to the
yeah,
country, it's all done by hand. It's all done with love, and it's all done with a human touch.
yeah,
And that's I think that's the same with the community. There's that human touch that's involved, and you feel it in the town.
yeah,
I imagine, like I suppose there's always because it's a small country town. I imagine that the negative side is gossip that travels really quickly.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There'd be a negative side to it too. Don't get me wrong, but there certainly was that sense of, oh man, I just feel relaxed and this is really cool and everyone's really nice.
yeah, yeah,
I really dug that.
yeah.
But what about getting back to WA, man? So you didn't ride back to WA, did you?
No, I wasn't going back. I thought one way was enough. Yeah,
6,000 K, just double it.
the plane ride was I think a much smarter, comfortable way to travel.
Yeah.
So,
did you take your bike back on the plane, or did you sort of ship it back, or how did that work?
so Jamie started the trip with me.
Mhm.
He's from Victoria, so he come over and back. I had another mate join us halfway. He's FIFO, so he waited for his shift to finish, and then he took a month off. So he drove across, and he was my main support car then.
Oh, just for my city dwelling folks, FIFO is fly in, fly out.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Thanks for that. They're like, what's FIFO?
What's FIFO? Yeah.
So he took all, and you should have seen the crap I had. Like we had so much stuff, and he took my bike back and all my spares, and so that was great.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Oh, man, it's great that it's great you had so much support around you, man.
oh, sport was huge, massive. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think you've done really well, Danny. Everyone is very proud of you. And I don't know, it kind of, I knew you were up to it, but when you started, because I was watching you, you're doing some training online. You can see you doing some training here and there, and you'd have the odd post pop up. I think you did a ride down to Mandurah, or if you're on the East Coast, it's called Mandurah. But if you're from WA, it's Mandurah. But I think I said, did you do an endurance ride down to Mandurah as well?
yeah. Well, like I said, I did a team triathlon a bit further down, down south. But yeah, Mandurah to Perth they were my big rides. Yeah, because you get on the pass, so you're not actually on the road, so you're limiting that danger risk.
Yeah,
because it's a jungle out there on the bike. It really is. So yeah, but
really,
yeah,
really is.
It's funny you said that. Like I've actually talked to a few people since I've come back, and they're like, when you first mentioned this, they're like, oh yeah, cool story, like thinking there's no way that I'll.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. Like when it popped up, you're like, shit, he's actually doing it. Far out, man.
Because again, like the power of the mind, I was just a normal. It's not like I'm a professional athlete before this. I only been cycling for 4 years, and the power of the mind, one right across the country. So I'm very proud at 32 kilometers an hour average speed. So that's I'm very proud of that. Yeah, and even professional cyclists have even said that's a real credit to you. Like, so that means a lot.
Yeah, man, it's pretty impressive. Like doing that far. What was your biggest running day? Like, what was your biggest Ks on the day?
We did a 300-kilometer day.
300 Ks. Jesus.
Now, people can believe that.
How did you pump that? Like, that's a lot of work, surely. Like, how did you get? What are you doing? Double the speed or something?
Yeah, we had a howling tailwind, like just smashing. Jamie set the cruise control to 50 k's an hour, and he goes, "You were pulling away from me." So, that 3 hours that day, we did 150 k's.
Yeah.
Then the wind started to drop off, which I was devastated by. I thought, oh, here we go. This is going to be the best day ever. So we'd come, and then so the next 150 k's was, I had to start using a bit of energy, which was I was devastated about.
But because you would have felt like Superman at the start. You'd be like, yeah, breezing through this day.
you can't explain. So I was in top gear on a tri bike, which is they're a very fast bike, and I was in top gear riding flat out with that pushing me. I couldn't have gone any quicker. So yeah, you do feel like Superman. And when the wind's directly behind you, it's quiet. You can't usually if it's a crosswind, the headwind, it's just really noisy.
Yeah.
So I could hear the wheels on the road. I could hear all of this stuff that is really quite peaceful when you're riding. And yeah, the last 30 k's of that day was very hard. Like mentally, got to 270. I was like, I was cooked. Like that was so 8 hours of riding time. We lost time on the border change too. Yeah. So it was getting late. It was getting towards close to sunset, and I was like, I have to do this 30 k's. When am I going to do a 300-kilometer day ever again? Never. Yeah. So all of a sudden, like you say, the mind, I just tried to occupy the mind on trying not to look at the little green signs telling me how far was left to go.
Yeah.
So, and then we got there. So I had a big dance in the middle of the road, and my mate's like, get off the road.
Yeah, I suppose, that like looking at the distance signs would mess with your head a bit, because you'd be like, oh, it's only 20 k's, and you're like, oh, but it's still 20 k's.
Yeah, that's the last 10 k's of every day was the hardest. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's
interesting how the mind works.
It is. The last 10 k's was just like, oh my god, I'm done. I'm ready to get off. You really got to try not look, but it's so hard not to look. And obviously, I had the GPS. We recorded all the k's and that on that, which I could see, and the speed. So yeah, I just tried not to look at it, and
and just try to trick yourself.
Otherwise, you're just mentally exhausted, and that's something else on its own too.
Yeah, because it would have that false summit thing going on for it, Like I've experienced the false summit a few times in my life, where I'm doing a mountain climb, and you get to a summit, you're like, yeah, man, I'm at the top, and then you realize, oh shit, man, this isn't the top.
Yeah,
that's 3 of these. Oh,
yeah, and then you got to get going again.
Yeah, you got to start the engine. Yeah,
and that's really, really hard to do as well. Yeah.
Mad, man. That's mad. Oh man, look. But look, it's been fantastic, man. Where can we find you online to check out Wheeling to the Mountains?
Yeah, so we're on we're on Facebook. There's a group that you can just search us on there. You can just Google Wheeling to the Mountains. It'll all come up. The page, the actual fundraising page is still open. We're just finalising a few of the cash donations and stuff that we got along the trip.
Yep.
yeah, if there's anyone that's keen to throw a couple of bucks and go on there and find us.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, have a look at all our videos, and hopefully, you'll see the story, which is the story is a very serious one, but we turned it into a really happy, fun kind of trip. So,
well, you got to have that contrast. Like you got to have that contrast, man. Like I say, like it's a heavy topic, man. You can't just be heavy like that all the time.
No. Yeah, it's you can't. It doesn't. You need to have that humor and the laugh to appeal to people, and that's what we did.
Yeah,
and yeah.
Oh, look, yeah, I had one of my unfortunately one of my dear friends passed away recently, and we had such a dry sense of humor. Like when we were hanging around with people that weren't outsiders, but they weren't as close as we were. And I was around a few other mates, and we'll just be saying a few jokes that are a bit uncouth, like around someone's death, and they'd be like, and people would be like, "Wow, that's a bit offensive." Like, he wouldn't have minded, man. I'm telling you, he would. That's how we joke around.
Yeah.
You got to bring lightness to really heavy topics like that. And you got to make it, and especially for people like yourself that are trying to get awareness out there. You've got to have that contrast, and that I think what really comes through on that is the authenticity of it. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry. All of those things are gonna happen, man. That's all a part of the deal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry.
We laughed and cried lots. Yeah. Happy tears more than anyone. There was a few sad tears. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you got to, and again, you got to be cool with that. People got to be cool with that. And I think, and that's what really comes through in your story, man. Following you guys online, it was really authentic, really genuine, really heartfelt, and it was definitely for a good cause, man. So yeah, once again, really proud of you, Danny. Well done.
Nah, thanks, Ross. Yeah, and we are so bloody proud of what we did.
Yeah. Oh, well, before we get going, though, have you got plans for the future? Is this the last ride, or is there going to be another ride down the track?
Well, I think if I do another ride of that scale, I'm pretty sure I'll be divorced. So, so probably not one of that. But yeah, hey, I'm going to get into more sprint cycling. That's what my body's built for.
Yeah.
I'm not the tallest guy going around, as you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I want to focus my time now. I've actually got a 140-kilometer ride, the 20th of November. That's a charity ride I'm doing here in Perth. We go from Fremantle up to Hillary's.
Yep.
So I've chosen motor neuron disease for that one.
Okay.
Raise money for that. So yeah, that's the next little challenge for me, just to keep training towards that, and then. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic, man. Well, more luck to you, Danny. It's really fantastic. Once again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me on, mate. I wanted to come have a chat to you for a while, so thanks for having us on.
Oh, man, when next time you're in Sydney, I'll get you in the studio and we'll do an in-studio interview, man. It'll be an absolute hoot.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, for sure.
And guys, you've been watching the Pagey Train. Don't forget to go and check us out on Spotify. That's right, video on Spotify. Or you can go across to YouTube, and while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and tick for notifications. But for you avid listeners out there, we are also on iHeartRadio, and we're on Apple iTunes. You guys have been watching the Pagey Train, and we'll see you next time. That's the show, man. All done.
Good to have a chat with you. It's good.
Yeah, man, it was really good. Before you